Generalissimo Francisco Franco, virtual dictator of Spain for over 30 years, takes the salute at a military parade in Madrid a few weeks ago. Parades like this have been regular events in Spain for 34 years. Staged by the government to mark the anniversaries of General Franco's victory in Spain's civil war, they're deliberate reminders to every Spaniard that it was Franco who created order out of chaos a generation ago, and that it's Franco who's maintained the peace ever since. But this year there was a difference, not visible but very significant. For this was Franco's last appearance as official head of government. The aging Caudillo, now 81, has at last decided to move into semi-retirement and hand over the day-to-day running of Spain's affairs to a new prime minister. General Franco will remain as head of state, chief of the armed forces, and leader of the country's only legal political party, positions he's said he'll keep for as long as God gives him strength. But even absolute rulers are not immortal, and Franco's decision to delegate at least some of his duties is clearly part of a plan to prepare Spain for the inevitable post-Franco era. The change is hardly revolutionary. The new prime minister is 70-year-old Admiral Luis Carrero Blanco, Franco's lifelong comrade-in-arms, who served in several Franco cabinets over the last 20 years, the last 4 years as vice president of the Ministers' Council. The Admiral's not renowned for his liberal views, and his new cabinet is in fact more to the right than the outgoing one over which Franco himself presided. But many of the new ministers are relatively young men who may not be against a gradual process of political change. Franco will no longer be present at cabinet meetings, but his influence will continue to shape overall government policy for as long as he lives. Even so, the change of leadership does herald the end of an era in Spain's history. Madrid, 1936. Spain's political system collapses after years of incessant squabbling among selfish political factions. Law and order ceases to be a reality and becomes only a slogan. Demonstrations that begin peacefully inevitably end in confusion and rioting. The army acts to stop the slide towards anarchy. General Francisco Franco issues a revolutionary pronunciamiento in Morocco. The Spanish Civil War has begun. With better generals and better equipment than the Republican government, and with air support from fascist Italy, Franco's forces seized the advantage immediately. Within a matter of weeks, they had overrun western Spain and begun the long siege of Madrid. The war was fought with a savagery without parallel in history up to that time. For a localized conflict, the casualties were enormous, the destruction immense. Over 1 million Spaniards died, 3/4 of them civilians caught in the shelling and aerial bombardment of the towns. In the later stages of the war, the Republican strongholds of Madrid and Barcelona were almost literally starved to death by Franco's blockading armies. By the time it was over in 1939, Madrid and many other towns were largely in ruins, and half the country's rolling stock and motor transport had been destroyed. Franco's victorious troops entered Madrid on March the 28th, 1939, a dark day for many of Europe's liberals who'd always seen the war as symbolic of the great ideological conflict of the age, democracy versus totalitarianism. Franco's fascist salute as he rode in triumph through the streets of Madrid was for them a depressing spectacle. With the end of the fighting, Franco had to make his own personal transition from soldier to politician. He'd extinguished all military opposition, but there were still many political factions within his own right-wing alliance, and his survival eventually depended on his ability to keep any one of them from becoming too influential. From the confines of the Pardo Palace, Spain's new head of state soon proved he was equal to the task. He began by refusing Hitler's open invitation to join the Axis powers in the Second World War. Spain was too weak to contribute much, and Franco wanted stability to consolidate his own position. He abolished all political parties except the fascist Falange and set about reorganizing Spain, literally with a vengeance. Political prisoners ran into thousands. Hundreds more were executed. By the end of World War II, Franco had emerged as the unchallenged dictator of one of the poorest countries in Europe. Spain, for the most
Podemos acercar.